Do people really want Reaper banned, or do you just not like it when you get hit by Reaper? If you're sitting there complaining about Reaper, but you're not playing the new one, I'm going to have some questions.
This is Champions of the Everyday, where we meet the people who champion what the world overlooks. Today is Dave McMillan. He and LRG are reviving a forgotten 90s superhero card game, but he won't ban the most hated card. We get into why. Everyone champions an obsession. This is his. I'm here with Dave McMillan, one of the LRG co-founder, NAOL champion. How's it going, Dave?
Doing well.
We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post. No, I appreciate you taking time. It's people can't tell, but it's kind of late right there when we're recording this, but I do appreciate you making time for everybody and making time for the fans. So we'll just get straight into it. The first question I have for you is, what first got you into Overpower?
So, Overpower was really a place where I got to relate to my best friends from middle school and high school, our shared love of nerdy superhero stuff. I first saw it. I got a free 3-pack of cards and a box of Berry Berry Kicks. Art was cool. There's a superhero card game. I'm in. How do I get into this? My father would take me to a store called Comics Kingdom in Baltimore near Johns Hopkins. I don't think it's open anymore, but I just get like a pack or two at a time. But we were modest means. I wasn't, buying boxes of product. I just would crack a pack and get excited. And over time, built up a nice little collection. Just enjoyed playing at lunchtime in high school, on the weekends with buddies, collecting and trading. We didn't even I never had a whole collection. We would trade heroes. If I had Iron Man, that meant that no one else in my group could have Iron Man. Like I get the Iron Man cards. And then someone would say, hey, for Iron Man, I'll trade you War Machine. And then if we traded, I own War Machine, we wouldn't, have copies of it. It was almost like fantasy football. So that's how I got into it. And then it kind of grew from there.
So you guys were the original breakers. You guys were breakers before it was there.
One thing I'll say is, Overpower was one of those first CCGs. You really had Magic the Gathering, which was the granddaddy of them all. But then Overpower was basically right in there at number 2 slot, more or less, and was very popular. That was before we really knew what we had in CCGs. So really like Magic and Overpower, really just pioneering into the Wild West of how fun and weird we could get gaming to be.
That makes a lot of sense. I think you guys have made so much improvements.
The war is never won, right? It's never actually settled. I think my approach when we got into this project of bringing back Overpower was to make it accessible as much as we could to new players, but also trying to make it standardized and consistent and justifiable when you have to make high profile tournament rulings. And those two goals are kind of somewhat opposed at points. Simplicity doesn't lead to consistency, right? The original game, there wasn't a lot of complex interactions. It was just literally, I throw number, you block or you don't block. You want to honor that spirit or structure of the game where if we compete and we want to know the answer, we hopefully can get there. Or if we can't and we ask a judge, when the judge says, this is why, we can respect it. War is never won. We'll continue to improve. I'm working on version 2 of the rulebook as we speak. We have a new gentleman who's helping to work on standardizing some of our language. He's got CCG experience, but he's not a traditional Overpower player. So it's good because it brings in new sets of eyes.
And having some fresh blood in there. You actually made me think of something right now. A judge being called on you. Since you're the head of rules, judge versus being a player.
Yeah.
Where's your head at?
So it's interesting. I mean, I can play online with you guys. We have a really robust online community, intermittently 50 to 100 players who are lurking, watching, taking notes, playing, discussing, debating, arguing. We do it all, right? But we get to know each other, debating. But I try to wear these different hats, and I think it can confuse some people who interact with me online, because if I'm just talking as a player or a collector, I'm just shooting the breeze, right? And I can give an opinion on what I'd like to see. If I'm either the head judge at nationals or I'm a judge for any other event, and I'm going to try to deal with what's on the books and how we should rule it in the name of consistency and not making up rules on the fly. I love the NAOL, North American Overpower League. Check them out on Facebook. Join the Facebook group. Give a like, give a follow. They're fantastic. They do a great job of running a league where you get to use the old cards and the new cards. And they mostly run a rule book that's, in line with modern rules. and they have their own
Mhm.
tweaks, and I'm cool with that. I love it. It gives us the founders a chance to compete, think about deck crafting, theory crafting while we're creating these new designs for The Walking Dead, for Invincible, for The Few and Cursed, for all these new IPs. So I love being able to still play competitively. When I'm in that mode, I try not to think about rulings except as a competitor, meaning there's other judges. I'm not judging something I'm playing in, and I just play and I might know the rules, but I just try to compete. And when I'm at an event and I'm making rulings, I try to just lock in on that task and be fair, try to be impartial, and deal with what's on the rule books and then go from there.
Somebody ended up doing pretty well recently. What's the difference between top eight and winning it all?
Man, that's a great question. Maybe I still don't know yet. I guess I returned to the community playing competitively 2014. I wasn't competitive till K2, named for John and Phil Keffer, cousins, great Overpower minds and players who put on a great event. It was historically in Penn State College. The old days, loved those days. And I was not very good. A little beginner's luck here and there, just enough to stay, not discouraged. But I think the biggest change has been in my game that might have helped me win my first tournament. I've gotten better at accepting when I make a mistake in a match and moving on from that and not letting that tilt me while being willing to sometimes take the tactical risks necessary to dig your way out. I think that's probably the truth for any CCG, but I think particularly Overpower, because Overpower, in my mind, you never truly top deck. You have to really play your cards pretty efficiently. I made a good deal of mistakes in my championship run. Each time I did make a mistake, I acknowledged it. And I thought, well, like Doctor Strange at Endgame, what's the 1 in 13 million path for how I'm going to suck out, win a battle, or even as a hand? A little more ice in the veins and a little bit more resolve and confidence. Throw caution to the wind a little bit. That's what I think helped me win my first one. And I think I've crafted a deck building style that's very unique. It took me a long time to get comfortable with who I was as a player and a deck builder. And that's a lot different than the top players who are more consistent, whether that's the GOAT, Marcel, Phil the King Keffer, or Phil Miller, rest in peace, are all their own player and they understand their own styles or styles. And I think I might have finally come into my own, kind of knowing who I am and what I'm trying to do.
And you also forgot the net deckers, such as myself.
Yep.
You can't forget about them. I mean,
No.
eventually I'll get some decks.
I think there's definitely like it's a game where you have to be aggressive at points. I mean, there are control decks and there's other strategies, but you have to be willing to take your swings, but you also have to be willing to, in a game and in a Swiss, take your losses and say, I bet two here, I bet four versus Lawrence under an event that skewed heavy towards my success. No strength icons. He's showing strength icons. I bet my four. He makes a fantastic play or two that I did not expect. And we end up tying that battle. The next battle, he gets his event that swings it back his way. And I had to count the cards and I folded 5 missions before the battle started. I just looked at it and I said, yeah, there's no way I can win. And I scooted on 5, but I did just accept, like, you're not going to win this one. What is it going to take for me to dig out of this hole? That's where I've improved somewhat as a player. A lot more improving I can do.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, all of us do. As the GOAT always mentions, you got to keep climbing that OP mountain.
OP Mountain podcast.
Don't forget the Spartan Training Ground. Let's get them all on here.
Overpower Adventures. Come check that out too.
Right. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And then
Right.
also the Traveling Goof as well. Don't forget his one. Speaking of this, I just want to get a little more personal. Do you have a lot of experience with poker? Did you want to speak to that at all?
Growing up, my father, we'd play 5-card stud with pennies or nickels. And so he taught me a little bit there. I was talking about this with Lawrence, who I play a lot with online. Similarly, his, I think, father taught him games of chance, including poker, doing pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. And so that teaches you a little bit, but really college, going into graduate schools when I started to play poker. Played a good deal in Foxwoods in New England, took a year off from graduate school in California. Frequented Viejas, Saquon, and it was the Ocean's 11 card room. I actually saw Doyle Brunson there one time. I didn't say hi. I didn't have the guts to do it. You had those big names and big personalities that won big money playing a game that is very similar to Overpower. You're wagering assets based off of incomplete information. But yeah, I think it's very similar muscles, except Overpower, you're venturing missions. And there's a fixed amount, it's almost like a limit poker type format because everybody has the same amount, roughly speaking, of money, which is your missions, and you can only bet but so much without certain consequences. I think that Overpower is one of the best games because of the wagering and the Stern
Mhm.
brothers and Ron Peraza, who's on our team now, and some of the other people who are behind the game had a good eye towards taking a game that at its core was very basic in terms of it's like war, but then adding the wagering component with the core idea of superheroes, fantasy characters of legend trying to work together to complete a story, and in their
Mhm.
ways another group of characters trying to complete their story. It works thematically, and then mechanically, yeah, poker is definitely like an inspiration, I think, to a lot of Overpower players, and definitely for me.
Drawn a little bit from your poker experience as well.
Not just poker, but card games in general that are
Hmm.
kind of universal, and we try to stick with those. The nature of information, the nature of like opening your hand. What does it mean? Like you always have a hand in card game. High-low jack, cribbage, whatever you have, you always have a hand. Even if you open-handed, but like you have a hand. So some concepts like that, concepts about like how betting should or shouldn't work, definitely take a lot of inspiration from all places that are card gaming. 52 card deck games as kind of the granddaddy of all games. Also looking at, other games, modern games that you can draw inspiration from as well.
Oh, we got a spice alert right now. Got a spicy question coming in. This
All
one
right.
comes in from the audience. I polled the audience ahead of time for some questions. Why isn't the Reaper banned? Are we looking to explore that in the future, or can you speak to that?
Ooh, we're getting spicy. Yeah, no, I think look. So the first thing I
Pretty
would
late.
say before we start even into this quick conversation, the Reaper, previously the artist previously known as Power Leech in the original game,
Mhm.
again, it's not something that we designed. And so when we were trying to get the game booted back up, we did Power Card Pack that was a limited edition. Maybe about 300 and some change were printed. The value's gone through the roof, which is crazy. I'm so proud of that. Shout out to the Orange King. If you don't know what that is, theorangeking.com. Go check it out. Keeping Overpower alive, y'all, since 99. When we did the power card pack, that was to get the trademark, to get awareness that the game's coming back, kind of experiment with the card stock and printing things and all that. Went pretty well. We needed to keep the community engaged and invested. And the next step, and this was actually my idea within the group, was to do a next release that was, we called it the Any Hero Essentials Pack. It was to make the Any Hero cards that were in the legacy game accessible and in a few cases reimagined for a more modern game, even though we hadn't released modern yet. And so that obviously had Grim Reaper as a part of it, as the Leech replacement with revised language and everything. And so we were working within, we're in a unique endeavor. We're birthing a new game from the old game, and the old game kind of died but didn't die. We were
Mhm.
working from the old environment and the original cards towards the Kickstarter, and now towards Skybound coming August. And few and a curse.
I can't forget about that. Shout out
Yeah,
Felipe.
shout out Felipe. So that's your first starting point. Now you have the modern game and Reaper. We don't want to be in an environment where there's too many cards that are banned in circulation unless we have to. The criteria for
Hmm.
that, to me, I'm speaking for myself, is a card impossible to understand or consistently rule, or does it break the environment where a certain deck or decks is winning too often, 80%, 90% clip where it's no longer competitive? And look, the first thing is that Reaper can be in everybody's deck currently. So it's not swinging
Hmm.
the outcomes directly that way. Reaper being a defended or landing will swing a battle or a game, or could swing your Swiss, but not in a way that's like you need to use this character to get Reaper. So now we only see that character. We're designing a number of sets out. Few in the Curse Kickstarter, 10 new characters. Skybound, 30 plus characters. I forget what the final total was. Top Cow, it's going to be about another 30 characters, plus introducing some new mechanics. Wink, wink. We have a vision for the game, and we have multiple sets of design drafted. And so we know where the game's going to go. So I've talked about it in other spaces, but you're going to have battlegrounds and different suites of any heroes that you get to choose from. Is going to be a lot more defensive with a little more trickiness, fortifications, and assists and those other kind of mechanics in the anti-hero suite. And it's going to help you deal with Reaper, but also Reaper will not be in that set. And so what I think we're going to find out shortly is, do people really want Reaper banned, or do you just not like it when you get hit by Reaper? But look, I hear the complaints, but like, everybody will have a chance to choose the new anti-heroes, the new battleground in Skybound. It's fantastic. You're going to have great mechanics. Obviously, everything, the art and the design is beautiful looking. It's going to be very competitive, if not better, I think, than the old set. But obviously, it's not going to have a one-to-one Reaper because we don't want that to be the only option in the game. But if you choose to continue to use the old anti-heroes to get Reaper, to get Hades, that's a choice. And that says that you like it. That's my spicy take. Is that once that comes out in August, if you're sitting there complaining about Reaper, but you're not playing the new one, I'm going to have some questions. And we can take that up on my next appearance on this beautiful podcast is, hey, people were complaining, are you playing the new one? Because we're talking about multiple pure voids. Put this card out and it can
Ooh,
block anything.
nice.
KLs. We're talking about a lot of spicy stuff in there since we asked the spicy questions. So if you
Right?
turn down all that to have a chance at Reaper when other people are going to have more defense against it, you're letting your preference know that you do like it. That's my hot take.
Let's see how many people are going to be still using that crut. Maybe that has the better battlegrounds. And oh, all of a sudden, Mr. Ban Reaper is using the Skybound. What's
Yeah.
going on there?
And look, everybody should be passionate about the game and have good opinions.
Yeah.
So I love the passion. I do think you're going to see Top Cow's going to have one or two sets of any heroes or battlegrounds, if you will. To be clear, these don't mix and match. You have to, it'll be just like the way the original game had battle sites. You will pick your battleground and it gives you access to the suite of any heroes. And so it's not that you can have the new anti-heroes with Reaper. Let's be clear, you'll be choosing sets. There'll be more sets coming, at least one in Top Cab, or we're thinking maybe two, probably one or two in the boys. If you're looking at what's the future of Overpower mid to late 2027, you're talking multiple anti-hero sets, which makes that another degree of freedom, another variable for deck building. I've got a mill deck for Legacy, the combined environment, the old cards and the new cards. I'm just waiting for the new anti-heroes to release because I need them. I know that better defensive one's going to fit what the deck's trying to do better. So you guys have got something to look forward to. Apart from the amazing characters design in Skybound, both The Walking Dead and Invincible, you got a good battleground that will solve a lot of your Reaper problems. And the other thing I'm going to say, just fold. A lot of people love to fight though, and that's okay. But that's a choice.
You're right. And then they also give you your first loss from Ricky on a turn one Reaper, nailing 4 cards. I smelt it and I did not fold. I mean, if you're going to give it to me, then I'm going to play it.
That's funny. Going back to the poker inspiration, sniffing out Reaper is like a soft skill. The special ability that everybody has is to fold any hand that's not game point, and they're betting weird. And you're like, I got aces. What are you betting with? And you got to, it's like a little itch in the back of your brain, like he's got to have a set and that's about to turn into a full boat. I got to fold. And I think I'm used to that as a poker player. And I think there's probably some CCG people. We got some imports from Magic the Gathering. There's so many good collectible card games out there. None better than Overpower, of course. I'm by players coming in bringing new experiences, and I get that. But eventually, even if Reaper is going away because people are adopting the other battlegrounds, still always be a boss card that you need to fold away from. And you got to see someone's betting. Someone bets 2 and you don't understand, or 3 and you don't understand. Your angel on your shoulders got to say like, hey man, seems like he has something good. Maybe I don't need to fight this one. And I'm proud of when I can fold away from Reaper. That makes the match for me, even if I lose. Overpower is interesting because if you play a deck well enough and you're playing well enough, you do get 6 senses about when your cards should populate if you're not getting unlucky, and when your opponent should be like having their swing back in the match. But most Overpower games, there's like a start and a beginning and an end. Like I said, the folding to Lawrence, I had to fold a 5 bet where I felt like I had it up until I didn't. And I folded that 5 bet not in the middle of fighting. It was pre-battle after the tie. I had to just say, yeah, I fold 5. And in that moment, I had the despair of like, you just lost the match. But I also said, look, no, you didn't lose the match. You just lost 5 missions. That's going to make your chance of winning the match less, but you've got to dig out. Because digging out wasn't going to be throwing good money after bad and fighting for that 5 and losing someone. I think it's a muscle that over time you get. I need to visually see myself. Sometimes I'll put a card on the table and not take my finger off it. I have to see it so my brain can process it. Likewise, if I'm talking about these strategies, I can't make that dialogue, the debate against myself happen internally. I'm the kind of person who
Mhm.
sings in the shower, but I talk to myself in the shower. And I'll say to anyone who listens, like, I think that's okay as long as no one talks back.
Oh, I was just about to say, mine talks back. Ding.
But no, really, I mean, like I speak about, my job. Hey, this what's happened at the job, and
Mhm.
well, what do I got to do today? What I got to do to keep my wife happy? What I got to do to be a good son, father, cousin,
Ravens
uncle,
fan.
Ravens fan,
I see that in the back.
overpower champion, rules
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
overpower player, community
Mhm.
member. But it helps for me to speak it aloud. So I kind of have gone back to just like, look, even if I give up some information talking aloud, I need to talk my logic out and hear that, like, hey, a Reaper's coming. Or like, why are you willing to stay? I think you got a right tools for the job. It's gonna lead into a 7 combat for the kill, and I can't stop that. And I want to fight because I'm having to fold my Reaper, but I know I can't do that. Or I'm having to fold my Star Gemmer's 11. I know that I don't have the right defense and I can't lie to myself. So I think also honesty with yourself is a soft skill that I've gotten better at. I might have more cards than you, but I can see what those cards are. And if they're garbage, I know they're garbage. And I'll count aloud. I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15 cards. But in my head, I'll be like, you have 13. Yeah, I don't say that part I can keep in my head, but I'll count my 15 or 15 and a half or whatever the number is. But I'll
Yeah.
try to say in my head, like, don't get jiggy. You only have 12. And I'll count their cards.
Mhm.
And then I might bet two, kind of portraying strength. Like, okay, I've got 4 more cards than you. And sometimes I count aloud to tell them I have the advantage. I've got 15 and you've got 13, and I'm betting two. But in my head, I'm like, ooh, but you really got 12, and you better hope they don't go the distance. And you better run when it's time to run. So these are all soft skills. And I think the new players coming in from other CCGs or just this is their first CCG, the modern game, will continue to grow in the soft skill of like detecting when the opponent has that metaphorical set or they've got their metaphorical
Mhm.
pocket aces and you need to run. One thing I've started to do, I love to bet one. And let me explain what that
Mhm.
means. I think when I was younger and playing in the last decade, I
Mhm.
might in my head say, all right, I'm playing Raz. I got this hand. I'm betting two, but you're going first. And then you bet two. And the old me would be like, well, I bet two back because I got it. Now I'm a little less confident. Now I'm like, okay, what do you know that I don't know? I'll bet one, and then before I say, I'll talk aloud and think. But when I stay, I'm staying to inflict pain, and I'm staying to
Mhm.
say, if I can defeat your two, people don't do this a lot in Overpower. Defeating two is just as good as winning two because you've
Yep.
reduced your opponent's chance, their runway, and their clock to make a comeback. And so
Mhm.
I'm one of the few players I think out there that has won some games by defeating all 7 of the opponent's missions.
Oh,
Because
wow.
once I defeat one of your two bets, I'll just keep betting
Mhm.
one and let you bet two and try to dig out. And if I can get you to 034, 025, I don't even have to
Mhm.
do anything. You will hang yourself. And I run bigger decks. So if you dig yourself a hole, I always like my chances of being able to almost fold to a power pack. And I think I want to write an article about that for the newsletter at some point. Larger decks and power pack play.
I try to run them too. I run them thick and juicy. You know what I mean? I think that's the
Thick
way. That's the way to go. But
and
we're talking about
juicy.
power packs and decks, people. That's what we're talking about. But yeah, that's. I think you're right, and that seems to be where it comes off in a lot of the decks that want to get into the power pack and want to get you into the power pack first. They seem to also run a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker in the card count, even if they're not running events. Part of me thinks it's a great article, but another part's like, nah. How about we keep that amongst ourselves? And every
Okay.
other viewer watching this.
Yeah, I like that. I put
We
a
keep it amongst
moratorium on
ourselves.
article. And I
Hmm.
also use Spartan Training Ground on my Zeus deck. So look out for these other, some of you
Ooh.
guys are sleeping on some of these home bases. You gotta do your homework.
Hmm.
Don't sleep on Dracula's Armory. Don't sleep on Spartan. And don't sleep on Barsoom. Shout out to Justin. Justin won his first championship with the Barsoom deck. And last shout out, first two NAOL tournament winners, no negate. No negator
Oh,
necessary, y'all. Open your third eye. Open the third eye. You can do whatever you want to do in Overpower if you practice it and you believe it. You might not always win though. Your results may vary. Your results may vary,
fair
but you
enough.
you can do it. First, let me give props to Andrew. Andrew the
Mhm.
Prodigy, the season zero champ. First off, great season. He and the
Mhm.
Seattle people, that community's grown by leaps and bounds. Proud of them. They're doing a great job growing the game, and they're amazing players. He and Thomas and that whole crew are just jamming hands, deck crafting, theory crafting. And second is, the point of these exhibition matches for me is I can't play in the field. I can play NAOL, but I can't play modern competitively like I'd want. We're going to do some invitational stuff, probably season one into season two, but we haven't done it yet. Andrew and I are more or less like same team. He stayed over at my house before the battle for Boston. I want to say 2024. It was late 2024 when Andrew won his first championship with a Galactus deck.
People don't even know.
People don't even know. I helped him refine that deck in the day before. I mean, we went through multiple battle sites, tweaking things. I was giving him my theory crafting on, triplicates versus singles and look at these teamworks, which ones are redundant. And not that he didn't know those things, but I was helping him bat it around. And so, like, I love Andrew. Whenever we developed this NASCAR model formally for Overpower teams, he talked about it on Spartan training, but I definitely expect him to be on my team.
I'd have to put a block on that. Something like that. That's just, you can't have two people that are the best captains on the same team. Come on, come on.
I'm not a goat. I'm just over here trying. I'm trying to make it like the rest of you, like the regular folks. I had a great matchup with Ricky. Shout out to Ricky going 10-0 at PAX Philly, and having just a great overall season and a great overall couple of years. He's really become one of the top players, much better than me, honestly. We put on a great match and went to Power Pack. For anyone who watched, it showed what an intellect deck, control deck could do in this environment. And watch out, Skybound Robot coming your way, Cecil coming your way. There's a
Oh
lot of good
boy.
spicy intellect that's going to help those decks see their full day in the sun. So I'm excited.
I'm just saying, guys, you heard that. You heard a lot of potential coming. We're going to do have a lot of brewing, a lot of crafting. Appreciate you taking all the time here. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Well, look, I want to just thank the community overall for being great. This is a unique endeavor. I don't want to say it's like the first in human history or any nonsense like that. I'm not that much of a narcissist. But I do think that bringing back a collectible card game might be in a unique space to try to honor the spirit and the design of the original game while trying to iterate and improve. Us having a vision to do that, but the community coming along for that vision. I understand with feedback, we want to hear all the feedback. Everybody's going to agree at all points about every detail of the vision for the game or decisions that were made. But I hope everybody knows that we appreciate you, the community. Everything we do comes from a place of love and respect for the game, respect for the IPs that we license. I think, we need the community to help us figure out the direction right now. I think sometimes some people want to drive the car, and I'll be frank that, like, we're driving the car. I think we spent a lot of money and time and effort, and we've earned that right to really take a good swing at this. And so far, I think the sky's the limit and people are pretty impressed and happy. I also think for the legacy community, we need you guys to keep us honest. So I don't mind when there's a disagreement and people say, they wish the game moved a different direction. As long as it's constructive and as long as we stay positive and keep loving each other and keep lifting each other up. And I think when we shout out all these different podcasts and venues, it's because I'm so proud of the community for being welcoming to people and helping teach the game. And I think I'd probably be a better player right now if maybe those first few years I was more focused on learning and others were more focused on teaching. Shout out to rest in peace, Phil Miller. Thousands of games against him in the old Overpower online chat. Also thousands of games against Sean, Merlin Ballantyne, one of the all-time
Mhm.
greats. Thousands of games there, still going strong on Discord. And Dan and Darcy McGlynn, who aren't overly active in the community right now for various reasons, but respect to them. I got online games with them that taught me a lot. So I think the community is great because Marcel talking about climbing the mountain or whatnot, it is very insightful. You got to keep going. It took me 14 years. I had lots of top eights. Oh yeah, the last 2 years for me weren't good playing years. I had a lot of fun, but I wasn't doing well. But I was seeing lots of other players that I helped coach or teach do well. And now to start my season one, NAOL with a win with Zeus. I'm in lead for play of the year. Toot my own horn. Whoever wants to come get these hands, people talk. I'm out to Columbus, see what I got for y'all. I got, the Bertrands are hosting. Take the title from me, but I'm not letting go without a fight.
The nickname was Chicken Dave. He's counter to Chicken Dave. I don't know.
Well, look, we talked earlier to me about the power of folding, so I like to call
Yep.
myself now the king of cowardice. Maybe I say cowardice like a K, like Mortal Kombat. Would love to license
Oh,
that.
there you go.
Love to
We're gonna
license
see
Mortal
that this
Kombat.
weekend.
Yeah. No, but I love folding and I love playing the game on my turns. I can be very
Mhm.
aggressive when I'm invested in a battle, and I'm willing to run before the battle, and I'm willing to run during a battle when my brain clicks that you thought you were going to win, but you're losing. Get out. That's not inaccurate. That's my play style. I'm very measured, but I'm also very aggressive. Appreciate the
Mhm.
community. And we're driving the car. We need you guys as co-pilots. We need you guys to man the GPS, man the maps, have the snacks, tell me I missed a turn. And sometimes if you try to grab the wheel, I'm gonna say, hey, we're steering. We got it. Stick with us. Skybound's gonna be so much fun. And few and a curse, we just had a
There you go.
initial meeting finalizing some of the mechanics there tonight with Keith Bursack and CEO Joe Ganyapan. Just stick with us. This is so much fun. I'm a fan. We're not just overpowered. We're not in it for the money. We're in it for the love of the
Mhm.
game, man. I haven't seen a red set yet. Oh, my kids just learned. Shout out to we got some crew out in Connecticut who are coming through. We got
Nice.
Mass, we got Rhode Island, we got a little New England group coming up, and my kids are learning. Sean Sawyer's son, he's learned. So we got a new generation of OP players brewing. So watch out for that. We're gonna raise them up right. So love you guys, love the community. Raz, thank you.
There's one last little spice alert here. Threw it out there that it seems like we may have hit a 150K threshold on a Kickstarter with a certain unlock. So I'm just, throwing that out there. I know
Okay.
Felipe is a player. Might have been a little help getting us hurdle there.
No, I know, I love it. You gotta lobby. You can't get what you don't ask for. But I'll take it to Mount Olympus as Hercules, and we'll see what Zeus and the other powers that be say. But I love the idea. I love Overpower. I love the medals, and I love these new stretch goals that we're working on. I love the fandom and the folks who like to collect, the folks that like to play, that love to teach, that love to strategize. It's just such a great game to enjoy all these things with and enjoy it as a family, as a community. So I'll take that back, and we'll see what we could do.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks so much for all your time. I want to get my last plug in for everybody in the Southern California area. I know he's mentioned Seattle has been blowing up and they've been growing their player base. We're trying to grow our player base. So shout out to Finch and Sparrow Games in Long Beach. And then also a shout out to Collectors Legion on Sundays. We usually split between those two areas. We're trying to build the player base. There's going to be a regional in SoCal. Everybody wants it. Everybody wants to come over for Overpower SoCal. Family has the Disneyland. They have Knott's Berry Farm, Magic Mountain. They got all these things that they can do. And we have Overpower and they keep busy. Everyone's happy.
California, y'all got to get out here. I lived out there for a year and a half. Shout out, Costa Verde apartment. Shout out Chula Vista. Again, shout out
Chula.
Viejas. See, Saquon. Shout out PB. Look, California, man. I love California. Love Overpower. I want
Appreciate
to
it.
see a regional there. So if you are watching this, you're in the SoCal area, get out there, get with Game Master LLC. I don't want to give away too much, but guys, we're in major big box stores. We are with the
Mhm.
major distributors. This is about to get wild. So get out there. Let's sling these hands. And whoever wants to come for the champ, come get these
Well,
hands.
appreciate it again, Dave. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, Raz.
I'm Raz, and if you made it this far, you're my kind of people. Here's a little secret: Dave's coming back. That conversation's already in the works. So if you want in, subscribe. Also, drop a crown emoji in the comments and let us know who should we sit down with next. Everyone champions an obsession. Go find yours. Kote.